June Zeitlin, thank you for joining me. What do you think are the most pressing issues for women in America today, if you had three?
Well, I think the number one issue is economics, because more women are working and are either the sole or one of the main contributors to family income, and a lot of the women who work full-time in minimum wage or low-wage jobs are not making enough to support their families. Mm-hmm. Nobody should have to work full-time at a job and not make enough to basically support their families. Also, the pay gap that persists for so many years between women and men. And related to that is the fact that now women are such a major part of the workforce, but a lot of the benefit policies and workplace standards were designed at a very different time, when there was one male breadwinner in the family, and his wages were enough to care for the family, and there wasn't such a conflict between work and family responsibilities. So I think that whole set of issues, along with the pay issues, are the number one issue that women face. I think the second issue I would mention is reproductive choice, because it shouldn't be such a major issue, but it's been so contentious in this country for so long, really almost 50 years, and it gets more and more polarized when something as simple as a woman being able to access contraception for an affordable price, and if the contraception fails, to get an abortion if that's what she wants, should really be a private question, just like any other medical issue between a woman and her doctor. And we've so politicized the issue that it not only results in unintended pregnancies and can limit the opportunities that a young woman might face throughout her life, but also places just a lot of stress on women and families in terms of one of the most important decisions they make about when and where to have children. So I would say that those are two of the most important issues. And then I think the issue of violence against women in a variety of forms is also critical, because that affects both your confidence to take advantage of what other opportunities you have, and also very much affects women's personal lives with their partners over time. And so those would be the three.
This is the 100th anniversary of women achieving the right to vote in America, and we have a female candidate for one of the major parties. Though she isn't the first female candidate that seems to have the possibility. From a historical perspective, you worked for Congresswoman Bella Abzug at one time. How do you see the historical ramifications of this?
Well, it is historic, and I think regardless of what happens in this election, this will be looked at as a turning point for women in this country, because there is a much broader consensus today that a woman certainly is capable of being president of the United States. That wasn't always the dominant opinion. Well, the first woman who ran for president was Shirley Chisholm. She ran in 1968 but was not nominated. But the two women who have been nominated for vice president, Geraldine Ferraro in 1984 and Sarah Palin in 2006, a lot has changed at each step of the way. When Geraldine Ferraro was nominated, it was a major breakthrough, but lots of questions were asked about her that would seem kind of quaint today, like, should Ferraro and Mondale be able to touch each other? That's not really something we're concerned with. Or is she tough enough? Mm-hmm. Nobody would really say that seriously about Hillary Clinton. Or could she raise a lot of money? In fact, if anything, Clinton's been accused of spending too much time raising money. So I think there's still a lot of other questions, and certainly her opponents have made an issue of her gender, and there's no question that the media is treating her differently as a woman. But I think she is certainly very serious and taken very seriously as a candidate. And I think that that's a huge step for women.
Sexism in the country, where do you see it? Is it still dominant or is it receding?
Well, it's hard to answer in the general. It's an issue that I think is really important, even though I'm a lawyer and most of my work focuses on changing laws and policies. I really believe that's just a first step, and ultimately we want to change people's hearts and minds and attitudes. And I think we've certainly seen some diminution in sexism, or at least in the way we view the way women are treated, whether it's sexual harassment in the workplace or gender-based violence in the home or sexual assault, issues that I think used to be seen as very private issues where, you know, in some ways women, even though they were the victim, they were the ones who were blamed. And we saw that in the media, we saw it in the legal system, in the educational system. I think now there's a much greater awareness that this is unacceptable behavior and ought to be condemned. We still have a ways to go to eliminate it and address it, but I think there's much more awareness about that.
Final question, how do we compare to the rest of the world?
Well, I think in some respects, the United States is looked at as a very hospitable environment for women. We've certainly succeeded to be present in every sector, maybe not in the numbers that we want, but like in political representation, even though now we've been at 20% representation of women in the Congress, we're still are below the average globally. In fact, in many countries, they've really pushed for having at least 30% representation of women. For women at the bottom, in other societies, other developed countries like in Europe, there's a much stronger safety net, social safety net that we have. And for women who are workers, issues like paid sick days and paid family leave are considered part of the floor of benefits. And so in that respect, I think we're still struggling to catch up.
Well, I appreciate your time, your insights. Thank you for sharing your weekend with us. Thank you for sharing thank you for the work you've been doing, because the world changes because of people like you who are willing to continue to go after an issue and to change the policy. So thank you. We appreciate you being here. Appreciate you spending some time talking with me.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed being in Cincinnati.
Oh, good.